With me on set now is Amy Walter, publisher and editor-in-chief of the Cook Political Report. Amy, great to see you, as always.
Great to be here.
So let's talk about Iowa and the importance of Iowa. I mean, we talk about the importance of Iowa every election cycle, but in this case, it really could be game over.
Yeah, I think you set it up really well in your opening, where this really is the place where Trump either basically can wrap up the nomination if he easily dispatches with his opponents, and most specifically Ron DeSantis, who in most recent polling he's ahead by somewhere 15, 20 points. Even if Trump were to lose Iowa, remember he came up short in 2016, he has a very different campaign than he did even in 2016. This is a campaign that's made up of actual professionals, people who have been doing the groundwork on some of the delegate rules, doing the dotting the I's and crossing the T's that you know very well, the team that was with him in 2016. Not really that focused on doing those sorts of things. So even if you get some momentum as the alternative to Trump after Iowa, the Trump campaign is very clearly prepared for what comes next, what the delegate strategy is going to be next, and also working with those states and those delegates to ensure that they get the best possible rules for their candidate. It
was this fascinating strategy, Amy, that he brought Florida officials with him to kind of this show of support, to thumb in the nose of Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis' whole goal is to reboot his campaign, to turn his campaign around. Do you think he gained any ground this weekend?
I don't know. I mean, I heard from some folks who were there said, you know, when you talk to people on the ground, it's a different perspective than folks here in Washington. Of course, it's always like that. And I spent some time talking with Sarah Longwell. She runs something called the Focus Group podcast. She talks to lots and lots and lots of Republican voters. She pointed out that voters who've soured on Republican voters specifically who've soured on DeSantis, it's not because of him necessarily as a person or a candidate. It's just that he's not connecting with them. I think that the biggest challenge for him to reboot his campaign is that the message he should have been campaigning on from the very beginning, I'm the electable alternative, now doesn't sound as pleasing to voters' ears when he's just simply, he doesn't look as successful as he once did, right? He's dropping in the polls in the Republican primary, and he's not any more popular in many of these states than Donald Trump is among all voters.
And the staff shakeups, Amy, feed this narrative that we've seen this before, that we've seen this with a fledgling campaign before. Are there any candidates who you have your eye on in terms of who may be gaining ground here? I mean, I hear Senator Scott's name mentioned quite a bit. Obviously, a lot of eyes on Nikki Haley as well.
Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. Also, he comes up a lot. When I talk to folks who are doing focus groups, his name comes up a lot, in part because he's just so different from the other candidates. He does not cut a traditional political profile. Tim Scott is the one most people are keeping their eyes on, in part because he has the operation and the money going forward. But in terms of who's making that direct contrast with Trump, DeSantis clearly upping his game there.
Very quickly, you heard Ali say that RFK is trying to work out his answer on abortion in real time. Is this because he hasn't quite sorted through it, or is it because he's appealing to a Republican electorate?
Yeah, or that he just simply this is just not his place that he wants to be spending a whole lot of time. But it definitely builds into the point you just made, which many Democrats have, which is that he is just simply a plant here, put forward by allies of Donald Trump to kind of mess with Joe Biden. But remember, if you look at the polling, it's not really helping him in a Democratic primary to be affiliated either with that position or with allies of Donald Trump.
All right. Fascinating as always.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Amy Walter, great to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.